Processing documents is still one of the most common pain points users have when it comes to using their digital tools. All this technology and still have to move information from a PDF into their platform. It's very time consuming and error prone because honestly, it gets kind of boring copy and pasting values around hour after hour. Over the years, multiple solutions have been brought up, from document processing tools to most recently smart-based. But either of these answers either requires a lot of training material and time training the model, or still a significant part of the human effort being there and actively making sure that we copied the whole file and moved the right fields there. What if there was a sweet spot? Hi, I'm Bruno and welcome to the Power Minutes. Today we'll fix a classic issue with a modern take, document processing with AI prompts. So let's not lose much time and jump straight into the AI Hub to see the prompt we've prepared. So over here, we have our invoice processing prompt. By default, you need to create it on the AI Hub, and after it's created, you can add it to your solution. And you can see that we started playing around, and we knew one thing: we needed content, we needed an image or document. In this case, we're going to use a PDF document, so we added that as an input. You received a PDF document with an invoice. Why did it start like that? Well, because that's the wonder and the great thing about input prompts. They're the same thing as talking to Copilot or ChatGPT. It uses natural language, and we just need to talk to it. We told it it's a PDF document with an invoice, and we expect to extract the entities from that document as a JSON. We did also some playing around, and we saw it was working, but the currency symbols, they are not useful. Rather, they actually we had to try and clean that up because in the database those fields are numeric fields or even currency fields. They will not support the special characters. Yeah, we could have fixed that in the next step in our flow, but we tried asking AI, and guess what? It worked. So we got no effort to do from our side, and the data quality is pretty high. Then we looked at our template. We prepared a generic invoice. You can see your generic invoice number, order number, the date of the issue for that invoice and when the invoice should be paid by, the due date. And then our client, the bill to, will be to a company. There's generally one or two rows dedicated to the address, and of course an email. Of course, last but not least, an invoice has a list of items that have been, or items or products that have been sold, or services rather as well. And then we have our inputs about how much it costs and so on. So we use that baseline information and we started to tell our prompt, hey, I have this to field, our client. It has a name, an address, two rows of address rather, and an email. I want that to be captured as the to field, an object. Then for the standard invoice fields, we started saying there, invoice number, order number, and look at the dates. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to do more work in the Power Automate side of things. So I tried again. Hey, the invoice and due dates, I want them in this specific format. Here's the format. And guess what? After a few tries, it understood and it stuck. We got it. Then we also have the subtotal, which should have given a different name, like total without text, and so on. And products is another object. We say that units can be in both hours and quantity, and I want to start that as a number. The service is basically the name of the product or service that we're providing. And rate and price is also a number, and the subtotal is a number. All right, we're almost there. There's a few things to do next. Power Automate, we mentioned it. That's the next step. I want to send it to Power Automate. But I know that Power Automate doesn't do too well with natural language. It's not a prompt, it's not an AI feature. It does work very well, however, with JSON. So we further reinforce that I want an output as a JSON. Great. Then, if you want to test it, make sure that you click here in your input and you upload a document. We have it over here, our invoice PDF, and you can press test. Now, test is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, you want to make sure that what you're uploading and what you're processing does get the expected output. You got it in under 5 seconds. We have something that looks pretty good. Yeah, that is for sure something that matches. Well, it does match the entire invoice. Great, and it only costs us 3 credits. Why I believe that this is important. Also, while testing, it does not consume credits, but it projects how much it would have cost you. And at some point, you might want to experiment with other. So there's bigger models that are better at thinking or transforming larger documents into data, and they will require a stronger model. But that comes at a price. It might cost a lot more credit. So I saw that the basic works pretty well. So we're going to keep it as is. The last step, since I didn't modify, I cannot do it, is the save step. Because without surprise, you need to save to actually have it. One thing to be conscious about it is that save also works as publish. So only save when you believe your model is aligned with what you expect it to do. We already saved it. Well, we didn't make any modifications to our model, so we don't need to save it. Make sure you save it so you can proceed. The next step, like you might have overheard, is in Power Automate. So we had a previous flow run. Let's just see the data over here. And you can see that today we're using OneDrive for the sake of our example. Of course, not the best or more scalable option. In a real case scenario, for example, you can use the same steps using SharePoint. Our trigger is actively looking for files to be added to a specific folder over here. You can see Invoice Examiner, invoices to process, and we will ideally be putting files over there. Once the file is over there, the trigger will start and we'll move to the next step, the invoice processing prompt. We know from the previous step that we were waiting an input and it's a file, it's a PDF file. So we just need to put the body of our trigger over here and the expected outcome is a JSON. We spent effort on the previous step on our prompt to get that outcome through. Great. But be wary of the best practices, and what I would advise you to, or Microsoft also recommends you, is to keep a human in the loop. Don't run these things blindly. Yes, they are very accurate, and they often get it right much better than we humans, but please always validate them. So Microsoft has got your back. They created a new dedicated step just for that, and you have start and await an approval of the prompt output. What does this mean? It means that it's your usual approval process. You're probably very used to using it, but it contains a step where you can see the output and you can modify it if need be. This is great because then we don't have to reject the output just because it got it wrong. We can amend it and fix it before approving it and getting it right. All right. After that, we have the traditional, it's approved, so we don't actively just process everything blindly. And in our scope, we need to add our data in a specific order. Of course, we want to create the customer first in this case, and you can see all of these fields. You can just grab them from the prompt step. We got everything over here. Isn't JSON great? So now that we have it, it's just a mix and match case. We want to create a customer because the customer is going to be related to the invoice. So looking at the invoice, we set up the invoice number, due date, everything is looking pretty good. We added the reference to the customers so we can just send it over there. And of course, there's a little cheat. Since it's a PDF, we don't have to actually do any calculations. We know that these values already come in the file. So they're already over here. We don't need to go and sum every product to make sure. Let's have some trust in the product tool that created the invoice. But last but not least, speaking of invoices, we need to then relate the products to the invoice, and we can do this as the last step. All right, everything looks pretty good. Time to take it for a spin. We go here. You can see I have my invoice examiner and I'm inside the invoices to process. I'm just going to find my file. I put it here to be readily available. It's uploading right now and it will take a few seconds. So we'll just let the flow do its thing. I'll keep it open over here. You can see that I've been trying and failing multiple times. It's all part of flow and seeing what we get out of it, having fun along the way. And we will soon have a trigger. I'll just have to wait a little bit, but I'll also prepare something on the side because I know that we are expecting an output from our approvals. So we will give it, it's already running, great. Let's see where it is. And I can hear it. You can see over here it's already colored. We have a new request. So approvals, it's a common experience. You are ready to edit and see there's everything that we had on our prompt over here. Great. Now, there's only one thing I wish it was improved, Microsoft. If anyone from Microsoft is hearing, I wish that this window was a little bit larger so I can see more. But it looks pretty good. I don't need to modify it. I'm just going to approve it. And that in a few seconds should trigger the rest of the flow. I already got the notion that it got approved, and it should be creating it pretty. There we go. It's done. Right. I also spent some time polishing up and having some quality of life. So I will also receive an email when it's done processing. And of course, I want to keep the file but move it away. So now that the tool is done processing, it will move it to the processed invoices. So I can look at it and say that, hey, I have this file over here. If I ever need to revisit, there in this folder. In your project, well, with maybe the SharePoint integration, you can also relate it to it. But let's not get distracted. Let's see how it looks. And oh, great. It's just started. Okay. Different time zone, but that's all right. Let's check the invoice 12345. Yep, that's our invoice. The example company, all looking pretty good. Yep, logo design. And there you have it. An automated process that needs minimal training, keeps in human interaction to its essential efforts, and now your people can focus more time in things that actually can make a real impact. See you next time.